This is Christopher Daniels, and the gospel according to the fallen angel says that you are watching DieHard Wrestling.
Now, Chris, you're one of the main reasons why independent wrestling is as popular as college basketball. Now,
Didn't know that. That's good to know.
what's your current thought on the state of the independent wrestling scene?
Well, independent wrestling sort of follows track with WWE's business, TNA's business, and so right now I feel it's a little bit in flux just because wrestling as a whole is sort of going through transitions. But there's always guys that are hungry for that opportunity. There are always guys that are hustling and trying to get their name out there. So you're always going to find people passionate about independent wrestling because that's where you're finding the people that are really hungry to kind of break through to the next level.
Now, you helped one of the top independent promotions out there, Ring of Honor, get on the map. How do you feel about their growth over the last couple of years, their TV deals, and do you feel that it's still the same alternative for wrestling fans who want more wrestling rather than entertainment?
Well, first of all, yeah, I definitely feel like when it comes to the wrestling, you're probably not going to find better actual in-ring product than Ring of Honor right now. And I feel like the worst thing I could say about Ring of Honor is the guys, they get to a point where they're so successful that they get on the radar of WWE, they get on the radar of TNA, but to their credit, whenever somebody like a Samoa Joe or a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson gets signed by WWE, gets signed by TNA, they've always managed to sort of land on their feet and start promoting the next star, whether that was Austin Aries or Tyler Black. And now that Tyler is signed with WWE, it'll be interesting to see who sort of steps up into that role and sort of fills the void that Tyler's going to leave when he goes.
You've been with TNA just practically since day one. Now, has there ever been an opportunity or an offer from the WWE for you to compete for them? And if so, what led to you to just turning it down?
No, there was never really any specific opportunity given to me. I did a lot of dark matches back in the late 90s, even up until 2000 I did some stuff. But I feel like they had a set idea, and at a certain point I became someone who was sort of synonymous with independent wrestling, and they may have looked at that as a negative rather than a positive. I still feel like even today I feel like there are things that I could contribute to the WWE, but I don't know if I'll ever get an opportunity because of their mindset towards guys my size, guys my age, guys with my experience. I feel like they would rather take somebody fresh from a wrestling school or from their own stuff and try to put their time and effort into that person rather than take somebody who's been around the world, who's wrestled every type of wrestler, rather than try and take that person and sort of brand them as a WWE superstar.
Are you afraid, had you ever had a contract with them or worked for WWE, that after you established the Fallen Angel brand on the independent circuit and through TNA, are you afraid that WWE might have changed that and discredited anything you had done in the past?
No, I feel like, I would have been happy to do whatever they asked me because they're the WWE. And, I feel like if I had gone in with the same work ethic that I brought to TNA or brought to Ring of Honor, I would have succeeded if given an opportunity. But, like I said, it wouldn't have bothered me if they said, you can't be the Fallen Angel anymore, we're going to do this with you. Because in the end, I just did what I thought was best for me, but they have a broader scope of what they want to happen with their characters, with their product. And so, you put your faith in the hands of the people that are guiding that machine. And so I would have been happy to say, okay, I don't have to be the Fallen Angel anymore, that's fine with me. But until someone comes to me now and says, well, this is what we want to do with you, I'm back to being the Fallen Angel, and so far it's served me well to remain the character that I've been doing for the past 17 years.
Now, you've been a TNA loyalist since day one. You were there from the days of the Asylum. Things have somewhat changed, creatively speaking. What are your thoughts on that? Would you prefer going back to the way it was back when TNA originally started back in 2002? And where do you see areas of opportunity where they can strengthen the product?
Well, I don't know if going back to the ways they were when the Asylum was going on is the right thing, but I will give credit where the credit's due in terms of TNA has always been willing to take opportunities, take chances with certain things, and sometimes those chances pay off and sometimes they don't. I feel like up until the Monday night thing where they tried to go to Monday night, I feel like all the steps that they took were small steps forward, even if they were small steps, they were always steps forward. And so, going from Wednesday pay-per-views to doing television on Fox Sports to finally getting a Spike deal and going from Saturday night late to Thursday night in primetime, they were always moving forward. Where they go from here, it's really up to them. Will I be a part of that? Also up to them. I would like to go back just because a lot of my friends are there, but I wouldn't feel a sense of failure if I didn't go back to TNA. You know what I mean? I feel like no matter what happens, there's a market for Christopher Daniels. I feel like right now I'm wrestling some of the best matches of my career at Ring of Honor. No matter where I end up, I'm always going to strive to test myself and become a better wrestler. Even after 17 years, I feel like there are places to improve and be a better product to promote.
A lot of people label you as the king of the indies. If there were 5 guys right now on the independent scene that you could recommend for the TNA roster, who would they be?
Oh, man, you put me on the spot. Well, you know what? Guys like Davey Richards, guys like Eddie Edwards, you see a lot of the best talent in Ring of Honor. So, I mean, you can basically look at their roster right now and someone who hasn't been to TNA yet and find a way to use them in a because in the ring, those guys are usually head and shoulders. But I mean, guys like Sami Callihan are they stand out to me. Guys like Tommaso Ciampa, those guys are really excellent wrestlers, and I feel like it's just they're one break away from getting noticed and being seen. Johnny Gargano's another one, definitely. Just an opportunity. They're one opportunity away from being in the spotlight and getting their opportunity to show the world what they can do.
Who are some of the guys that influenced your career and your style?
Well, it's funny. There was a period it's like when you become a wrestler, you sort of split your fandom into the time before you were a wrestler and the time after you become a wrestler. Before I was a wrestler, I was growing up in North Carolina, so the people that I enjoyed, I watched Magnum TA live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, growing up as a kid, wrestle Ric Flair, wrestle Nikita Koloff. And before his tragic accident, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. Sting was a favorite wrestler of mine just because he stood out from that crowd. And growing up watching guys like the Road Warriors and Dusty Rhodes and the formation of the Four Horsemen, I still look back on that as, to me, like the glory days of professional wrestling. Once I became a wrestler, especially the fact that I was a smaller guy, I'm 5'11", right now I weigh 200 pounds. Guys like Sean Waltman and Shawn Michaels were definitely the two that influenced me the most in terms of just giving me the confidence to say, you know what, I don't need to be 6'3", I don't need to be 250 pounds. These guys are succeeding, and especially in Michaels' case, becoming world champion at that level. I've always strived to get a tenth of the success that Shawn has had, and I hope at the end of my career I can look back and say I was respected in the same way that Shawn Michaels was respected in what he brought to the game.
If you had 2 dream opponents, one from the past and one that you can actually currently wrestle today, who would they be?
It's tough. I think as a wrestling fan, I would have loved an opportunity to wrestle Ricky Steamboat and Shawn Michaels, just because growing up watching Ricky as much as I did, especially the series he had with Flair in the late 80s, he was one of my biggest, a big influence in terms of technically what he brought to the ring. Also Shawn, like I said, someone I could wrestle today, I would love an opportunity to wrestle Chris Jericho. I've been saying for years that I feel like he's one of the best when it comes to melding in-ring talent and in-ring character. You know what I mean? He knows what it takes to sell a character, and then when it comes time bell to bell, he's flawless. And so, he's definitely somebody that I would love to have an opportunity to work something with.
17 years in the business, where does the Fallen Angel see himself life after wrestling? Is it movies? Is it something else? Or do you see yourself contributing and molding some of the younger talent?
I would love an opportunity to be involved in wrestling after my in-ring career is over. I've made no secret of the fact that I'd love to do commentary in some way, shape, or form, whether it was as a lead guy like a Jim Ross or as a color commentator like what Jerry Lawler does. And yeah, definitely backstage, I would love the opportunity to sort of give my perspective on what makes a good match, what makes a good wrestler, what makes a good character. Living in California, you know, there's always opportunities, and if I get the opportunity to become to do acting, I will do that. I mean, that's sort of what my background was in before I got into wrestling. So, you know, there are many options, many avenues I can travel, and I'd love to travel as many as I can just to do as much as I can.
Chris, I'm going to hit you with some best of the best. First thing that comes to mind, rapid fire. Best ever in-ring opponent that you faced?
Definitely the tie between AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, man. I had chemistry with those guys that I didn't have with anybody else, bar none.
Best finishing move in the business?
I don't know, man. The best in the business?
Of all time.
You know what? I'll go with Canadian Destroyer, just because I was always a big fan of the way Petey pulled that off.
That's the clothesline. Doubling over with the boot to the midsection. Oh my goodness! Oh! You see that? The Canadian Destroyer.
Best underrated wrestler?
Underrated. God. Do I count? Can I say me? I guess I'd be happy just to say best underused wrestler, but you know, there's so many guys that never get the opportunity they deserve. Sanjay Dutt is outstanding and deserves more than he's gotten in this business, so I'll go with Sanjay.
Best match you've ever watched?
Ooh, wow. I think the one I watched that I felt the strongest about as a fan was Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, the ladder match from the WrestleMania they did. So I would have to go with that one.
Best match you ever had?
The three-way, Joe and AJ at Unbreakable 2005. You know, just how I felt as that match was going on and the minute the bell rang for it to end. I haven't had that yet, and you know, I strive to have that sort of response with what I do.
Best friend in the business?
The three guys we call ourselves the Triad, even though there's four of us. There's AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Frankie Kazarian. The three best friends I have in this business are those guys, and I hope to one day get a chance to share a locker room with them again.
Last but not least, best Marvel comic made into a movie?
Ooh, best Marvel comic movie. I will go with. I'd have to go with Iron Man. I really liked. You know, I enjoyed all the X-Men stuff, but I think just because I didn't expect as much out of Iron Man as it gave, I'd have to go with that, man. Robert Downey Jr.
Great, Chris. Thank you for your time and best of luck. I appreciate it. Thank you.